Coming up on this episode of We're No Damn Experts, we're getting a history lesson about North America's largest buffalo jump, and Rebecca has some smack talk for our neighbors to the north.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames. If you want to go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
And I'm Shannon Newth.
And we're no damn experts.
We've been practicing this.
Yeah, we get pretty excited.
We do. We're good.
It's going to be secondhand.
It is. It already is.
And today, I don't really remember what we're talking about, but I know there's going to be some trash
start
talking.
to the podcast here. You're just excited for trash talk?
Yeah, I'm ready for some trash talking because I know there's a subject in this episode where we're going to get to trash talk. So, would you be so
Very
kind?
excited for the trash talk.
Would you be so kind as to introduce our expert today?
Yes, we're no damn experts, but we have one today. His name is Carlson Thompson from First Peoples Buffalo Jump Recreation Manager. Clark, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Okay, and I'm sorry in advance for whatever Rebecca's bringing up with the smack talk, but
I am the loose cannon every time. Shannon's going to be the professional, and I'm just going to pull us straight down into the gutter. That's my job.
So there's your warning, Clark. Yeah.
So let's start off easy.
Yes.
How long have you been with First Peoples Buffalo Jump, and how long have you been in Great Falls?
I've been out at the Buffalo Jump since 2014, and that's about as long as I've been in Great Falls, too. So I came up here when I got a job out there, and it's fantastic. What
led you to this job? I mean, it seems like a sweet gig.
It's an awesome gig. I love it out there. I grew up in Montana. Grew up down in Helena. Always was looking for a job in recreation here in the state. And Buffalo Jump just kind of called my name. I started out as a seasonal out there for back in 2012. Did a season then and finally landed a permanent job here in 2014. So was excited to get on with the agency and was excited to be able to stay in Montana and get a job.
That's fantastic. We're glad to steal you away from Helena and have you up here for sure.
Not that big of a drive, folks.
No, not that big of a drive, but we're glad to have you. So what does recreation manager, what all does that involve?
So there's quite a bit.
I would imagine.
Basically, anything that goes on out at the Buffalo Jump comes down to me. I'm the one responsible for making sure we have all of our interpretive programs lined up, our field trips lined up, making sure the center's ready for the public as they're coming through, making sure our trails are ready to go. Of course, I have a great staff I work with out there, too, who've been there for about as long as I have. So we're a great team and get to do a little of everything, including some, unfun stuff like budgeting and all of that.
Rebecca loves that stuff.
The admin side of things. But
I don't mind budgeting. I get nerded out about budgeting.
She does.
But,
she's a numbers fiend.
Everything else, like the admin, developing board meeting packets, nobody likes that.
There's most of the days are fun. Getting to check out archaeological sites, pictographs, petroglyphs, things like that.
There was a lot. So you said a lot of different things there. You have field trips, the all the things you just mentioned. There's a lot that happens at the Buffalo Jump. I think that people probably don't realize. They say, it's a there's an old site there, but there are a lot of events and things like that happen there that we can get into. I want to go back, though. What is a buffalo jump?
I was just going to say.
For those who haven't heard.
That's a great question.
We get that question so many times.
Right.
People walk in.
We send people your direction.
We start talking about First Peoples Buffalo Jump, and they're like, and then you can start to see the gloss.
You have to backtrack and let's start with what is it?
So you may not know what a buffalo jump is. So here is Clark to explain to us how wrong we've been at
explaining this to people.
Okay, what's a buffalo jump?
So our buffalo jump, and pretty much any buffalo jump, is basically a site where the native people would drive entire herds of buffalo over the edge of a cliff in order to kill them. It was used for basically procuring a huge amount of food or hides or bones for tools, all in one fell swoop. All pretty much done in the days before the horse was in the area. So it goes back, our buffalo jump out at First Peoples is at least 900 to 1500 AD. So it goes back quite a ways. And buffalo jumps, pretty much that's how the native tribes hunted the buffalo before they had the horse.
Clark, I may have told a lie today to some people about
Already? It's
Yeah,
still
I
early
know.
in the day.
Well, there was a large rush about 9 o'clock. How many bison would they drive off of the cliff in general?
In general, it'd probably be anywhere from about 50 to 150 animals at a
Wow.
time. That's basically the
significant.
size of a roughly any of the herds that you would find during the time of year they'd be doing the hunt.
Clark, I just want it noted for the record. I said 50 to 100, and I'm like, after I said it,
Wow.
I'm
Nice.
like, that could have been a complete lie. I have no clue.
So we can't take
But I
anything you
said-
say seriously until we
I
verify
said it
it.
with great conviction.
Yeah.
And turns
I
out
mean,
I
that's
was
half the
right.
battle in
That's why you
life,
did it.
right? Just convincing, saying things with confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were right, though.
Yeah, I was. Look at that.
So the buffalo jump, some people might say not love that idea or that concept. Tell us a little bit more about the history of that. They use the entire buffalo. Nothing went to waste.
There's just tons of different things you can make out of the buffalo. Of course, you've got your meat, which would just come from the muscle and things, but you've
Right.
also got the tendons, which are used for sinew, for tying the teepees together. You've got the hides used for clothing, teepees. They make what's called the parfleche, which would be kind of like their Tupperware containers that they'd use to transport different
Interesting.
items.
What was that word?
Parfleche. It's
Parfleche?
basically just,
Okay.
it's a old French word. I'm not sure what the direct translation
Okay.
is, but
Tupperware.
basically it's Tupperware that they'd use to transport things like their pemmican, which they'd be making out of dried meat and berries that they found on the site. And that's the big method that they'd use to transport food.
So you may or may not know this answer, but we're going to give it a shot. People have asked the difference between a buffalo and a bison.
That's one of our most popular questions.
Yes, I would figure it happens a lot there.
Yep. We use them interchangeably out there, but technically buffalo are only found in Asia and Africa.
See, that's
and
what I
bison
thought.
is in
Thank you.
North America.
Bison's the American.
So buffalo and bison are the same thing here, but in reality, from a genetics or species standpoint, they're two different things.
Yep.
But
Exactly.
we don't have buffalo here. We just call them that.
Yep.
Okay.
That goes back all the way to like the old early kind of fur trappers coming through the area.
Sure.
Didn't really have anything to compare it to. And so
We're going to call this a buffalo.
Yes. So you can use it interchangeably, but to be technical,
Yep. To be
Bison
correct, you
here.
have to. It is a bison.
yes. Or if you're, what is it, North Dakota State is bison.
Yeah. We
that
don't
how-
talk
yeah.
about them.
Okay. Moving on. Yes. So first people's
Bobcat fan.
yeah.
I'm a Bobcat fan.
that's
so.
unfortunate. I'm
yeah.
a Grizz fan.
Oh my God! Why did we even end up in the same room together?
Next to each other even.
Wow.
This is
Do you need me
insane.
to sit between you? Because I don't really care.
Well, we
Yeah.
both have equal distaste for the bison.
That is
then.
true.
Well, there you go. You
So-
can
That's
bond
true.
over
We can
that at
agree to
least.
that.
Yeah. North Dakota State, Great Falls High Bison. We all
Yeah.
like them.
Because they
Of
say it
course.
correctly.
It's not
Bison.
bison. Yeah.
Right.
This is a tangent, but
Okay.
it's
Sorry.
It's a relevant
We're
tangent.
getting
Yes.
back into buffalo jump conversation.
Yes. So you told us a little bit about what a buffalo jump is. Ours here, and we'll get to this. Will lead to Rebecca's smack talk if I'm correct, but it is known as America's largest buffalo jump. I want to come back to that in a second. I do have a more serious question
Don't
before we
jump
get
into
into the
this.
smack talk.
Okay.
So this was also, my understanding is, this was a unique place because it was a place multiple tribes could meet or use. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's about 13 different tribes that have some sort of oral history connecting them to the buffalo jump that we have out at First Peoples. So it was a popular place within the traditional Blackfoot Confederacy territory, but there were other tribes that'd be coming out using it. It was a kind of a popular place for folks to go to hunt the buffalo. It's basically just an ideal situation for a buffalo jump out there.
And I've heard it's a more peaceful place, possibly for that reason, because multiple tribes came to use it.
Some of the oral histories talk about how it was known as a place of peace and cooperation, and so as the tribes would come out there, if there's another tribe there, maybe they're not getting along elsewhere, but when they're focused at the buffalo jump, everyone's going to be working on the same hunt, because when you got 150 buffalo going over the edge of that cliff, you want to have
You
as
need all
many
the help
people
you can
there
get.
as you can get. Exactly.
That's interesting, but it's neat that was known as a place of peace as well.
I think it's the neatest thing about the buffalo jump is that it was basically it's Blackfoot land. And the Blackfoot are like, no, come use our
Right.
jump, basically. Open the doors and welcome them in, all the other tribes, because there could have been a lot of war, a lot of turmoil with that many different tribes using the buffalo jump as a place to get their groceries, basically. So that is a really...
The Walmart of the day, if you will. The Tupperware and everything. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Now go for it. Go for your smack
Here we
talk.
go,
Okay.
Clark. There are some people to the north of us. They will remain nameless, the people themselves. But in Alberta, they have the Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump, and we will get people in here, and they're like, "Whoa, I've been to Head Smashed In," or "I know about Head Smashed In," and they want to claim that they are the largest or that it's the biggest. But in all reality, they can think that. But we are North America's largest buffalo jump.
That's correct.
Correct.
Aha.
Got 3 miles of cliff that they'd run buffalo off. It's kind of a big horseshoe shape. So you've got 3 different sides to our jump with a bone bed anywhere from about 12 to 22 feet deep around the edge of that cliff.
Wow. There it is.
It's huge. So Head Smashed In, stop it.
Suck it.
Have you ever been to Head Smashed In?
I have been up to Head Smashed In.
Oh. Why do they... I won't go because they keep saying they're so huge. Why do they think they're so big? Is it because it's tall and not
taller.
wide?
They've got a much taller cliff. It's about, I think, like 50, 60 feet tall, whereas our cliffs are only about 20 to 30 feet.
Okay. Then they should distinguish. They could say they're North America's tallest.
Right.
But largest or biggest is not
largest,
correct.
We've got 3 miles total cliff, all in a nice big shape. So acreage-wise, totally blow them out of the water.
Far outbeat it. Okay.
Take that, Head Smashed In.
Take that, Canada. No, we love you, Canada. Come see us. Yeah. Come see us and see. We can prove to you we have the largest.
Here's the thing. Take them both in.
Yes.
And then you can claim whatever you want. We know the truth. First Peoples is going to be larger. Maybe not taller, but larger. Height didn't matter. How many you got off the cliff mattered.
You're saying size matters here?
Not the tall, just the width. I mean, because I would bet, I'm just going to keep the trash talk going, Head Smashed In's not going to let 150 buffalo off a cliff at one time. Maybe.
I don't actually remember how many they have going over the edge of the cliff up there. Could be about the same amount because you'd actually be driving them all into kind of one concentrated area. We just have multiple
more congested.
We have multiple different kind of what are called the drive line setups where the buffalo would be driven over, pointing off to the different directions of our cliff. Okay. Whereas I believe Head Smashed In kind of has just the one central point where they were all going into the same place.
So a lot of opportunity for Bison to turn around and go, did you see what's happening over there? We're done.
I don't know if turn around is an option at that point.
I think if you're a wild animal, you would have figured out some way to turn around.
Maybe.
So at the visitor center there, you've got a lot of the archaeological finds of the day, the tools they made or used, right?
Yep, we've got a archaeology display. They did some digs back in the early to mid 90s. We've got some of those items on display, kind of explains the whole process of just how the archaeological digs took place out at the buffalo jump. A lot of folks actually walk right by that exhibit without realizing it's there. It's at our park classroom, which is just right off our main kind of area of the exhibits, but it's a great exhibit. It's got artifacts on display. We've got stuff from the buffalo jump days going back to the Ice Age. They've got a couple skulls from some of the really ancient bison before the kind of modern day ones that you see. So even bigger, as well as all the way up through homestead days and quarrying days where that took place out at the park as well.
Wow.
And in theory, are there still bones and things up on those cliffs that haven't been uncovered yet?
Yep. Most of the park has not been excavated.
Okay.
Surveys have been done kind of over most of the park grounds, but for the most part, the digging itself was just in a couple minor areas kind of below the cliff.
Okay, so say I'm hiking up there and I dig and I find something. Am I allowed to take it? What's the rules on that?
So anything you find in the park, you need to leave it there. Feel free to, take pictures of it. If you're really excited about it, come let one of the rangers down at the station know and because it's our job to make sure that stuff stays safe, stays in the park, so other folks can enjoy it. And then also it's available for folks if they are going to be coming out and doing any sort of studies, that it's still there and in context, which is a big deal for archaeologists.
Yeah.
So if Shannon shows up with a shovel and big pockets in her pants, you're going to know something's up.
I'll just have an
She's gonna
innocent look on my face.
Someone's going to definitely come talk to her if we see some
follow
shovel.
me.
Shannon,
an
what
eye
kind
on
of
me.
hike are you doing
I
today?
just like to hike with a shovel. It's fine. It's not weird
It's
at
my
all.
walking stick.
Yeah. And you can, so speaking of walking, you can either drive. There's two kind of different options to get up to the top. You can drive or you can hike up there as well.
We've got a 3-mile loop from the visitor center up to the top, takes you to the same spot as the parking area, and then it walks you back down. There's an interpretive guide for folks to do it kind of self-guided. There's 16 different stops, a couple different archaeological sites as folks are going that we've labeled and identified, so you can learn about the blood kettles, which are where they would process and make the blood pudding.
That does not sound
According to some, the
appetizing.
kids went crazy for.
Well,
they
you
made it
put
kind of taste like
pudding.
ice cream.
Yeah.
You add pudding to something and it makes it more
Yeah.
appealing. Yeah.
So it's one of those stops on the way, teepee rings. You'll be right at the base of the cliff as well. And then if you're interested just driving up to the top, you can pop down just below the cliff as well. So there's lots to see there. And there's still little bits of bone and flakes from the stone tools that they were using.
Wow.
So what's the best way for someone to experience the buffalo jump? So they show up in the parking lot and you want to tell them this is the way to get the most out of your experience here. What do they do?
I think the best way to kind of experience the buffalo jump is getting out on the trail. If you can take that 3-mile loop, you're going to see some great scenery in the area. You get views all the way up to the Rocky Mountain front. There's actually, when you're up on top, you can see 5 different mountain ranges from up there.
Wow. I didn't realize
so
there was
there's-
5.
It's quite a lot you can see when you're
Yeah.
up there. 3 different buttes. It's spectacular. You learn all sorts of facts about the prairie, the history of the park, not only just the native history, but there's also some homesteader history as well as the quarrying history there at the park as well. And then once you've kind of done the hike, you want to come out and cool down because, of course, being out on the prairie, I think we have 2 trees in the park, both right next to the visitor center.
I was going to say, I've never
Yeah.
even seen them.
Wide open spaces. That's what it is.
Trees a loose term. They're more shrubs.
Bushes.
Few little sticks. Yeah.
But then once you've done the hike, of course, if you want to come inside, we've got the guides that are available. Those are inside the visitor center. So stop by, get those, then head out on the trail. When you're done with the hike, come in and enjoy the air conditioning. We've got some water in there too for folks to, rehydrate
Hydrate.
after the hike.
Yeah.
But then you can really get into depth with the different stories that we have. We have interesting information on the different tribes here in Montana, but our kind of main feature is our exhibit on the buffalo jump. It tells the story from the Blackfoot perspective as they folks go through. There's a story that plays, kind of motion sensor that recites a really popular book called The Buffalo Jump, and you get to hear the story from the perspective of a young man, the buffalo runner, who was the one who was leading the hunt.
You got excited about the motion sensor.
Yeah, I did not know there was the technology there. I've been out to the buffalo jump a number of times, but I'm usually cornered into the classroom. I guess maybe they didn't ever
They don't want
me
you to
in
go
the
back.
main
Yeah.
part. Like,
They
oh,
saw
hi,
you
you're
coming.
here. You need
Yeah.
to go right there. This is where you're headed.
So so it's a prairie. It's
Yep.
hot. If you're going to hike, there's snakes out there.
We do have
Just
a lot
want
of
people to be
snakes.
aware.
Yes, we do have.
They know.
We do keep the trail mowed down, weed whacked, so you can hopefully have a good view of anything coming up ahead. But of
Sure.
course, this is the snake's home, so they're
Yep.
out and about, slithering around.
You're in their house.
You may encounter them. We do have the prairie rattlesnake out there. Usually, folks are seeing those. If they do, it's going to be up closer to the cliffs,
Okay.
where the snakes can kind of dart in and out of the rocks. So folks do need to be mindful of that. And if you're bringing your pets, we do allow pets in the park.
Ooh.
Just make sure that you keep them on a leash because we want to make sure everyone goes home happy and healthy.
Yes.
Yeah, great idea. So you do guided hikes every now and again, but that's not a standard feature?
We do them usually a few times a year. Usually we do more of ours in the winter.
Okay.
And we do those hikes out to our pictographs and petroglyphs.
Ooh.
And we do those in the winter because, of course, the snakes are down in their dens, so we don't have to
Yes.
worry
Yeah.
about them.
I like that part.
But the guided hikes are, we try to do one of those once a month, usually roughly October through March.
Let's educate our listeners as well as maybe some of the hosts here. Pictograph and petroglyphs, what are those?
They're both different types of rock art. So we have some pictographs, which are items that are painted onto the rocks. So we've got, it's about half dozen or so pictographs that are most likely about 500 to 1,000 years old.
Wow.
They're made with a red ochre paint and just painted directly onto the sandstone. My favorite place in the entire park we lead folks to it during this hike is our wall of handprints. There's 50 handprints
Really?
at least in one little kind of concentrated area. Most are real faded, but we've got some enhanced imagery of them. And so you can really just see how much they kind of pop.
And it's
on the
50
cliff.
that you can still
There's about,
see.
archaeologists have identified at least 50 in that general area.
That's incredible that after all that time, even though faded, that you can still see that. That's amazing.
It's my favorite place because how better to connect yourself with the place than looking at your hand and looking up on the wall,
handprints.
and it's literally same size, just someone else was there 500 years before, and there's still that evidence.
And I can't get my bear paint on my house to last longer than 5 years.
It's a different time, yes.
You just need to use that red ochre.
Yes, there you go.
I don't mind a red house. Let's get it done.
There you go. They'll last way longer than any of us. So I didn't realize, I've been out to the Buffalo Jump numerous times. I didn't realize that there were the pictograph. Where is that area?
It's not on the main trails at all.
Okay.
It's off kind of towards the west of the park.
Okay.
And so that's why we do them as a guided hike. So that way we can have the rangers out with the folks and
People
kind
don't
of showing
get
you
lost
exactly.
wandering around out there.
Don't get lost.
Yeah.
It's right at the base of the cliff. There's lots of kind of scrambling around rocks
Okay.
and shrubs and things like that.
So you don't advise people to do this independently?
They're welcome to explore especially in the winter when the snakes are down. But I've gone out there in the springtime and I've never seen so many rattlesnakes walking through the tall grass around those pictographs. So I think I almost stepped on 3 or 4 one time.
We will add that to our winter list of our itinerary, though, because there are plenty of things to do here in the winter. And that's another one that if you're not a skier or something like that, this is something you could do in the winter. And it sounds like that's the best time to do it anyway.
Yep.
Right. Stay away from the snakes.
Yeah.
So we covered
Pictographs.
What is the other one?
Petroglyphs are basically etchings into the stone.
Okay.
Those are made usually with a stone tool or a metal tool. And one of the cool things is if you know it's made kind of by a metal tool, it's got like straighter kind of etching lines, whereas a stone's going to be kind of more jagged.
Okay.
And you also know that means it was after about 1700s or so when metal tools
kind of
started
advancements
making
there.
their way in here.
Okay.
So we have a couple of those in the park made with metal tools, so we know those were kind of much later than the pictographs that we have.
Wow. So there are many ways to enjoy. Do you have any more questions about
Not about this.
Okay.
Thank you for educating our listeners.
All of us. Yes.
That's what I'm here for.
So we can go hike out there. You can look into the interpretive center, but there are also a lot of neat activities that you do all year round.
that's where I was headed.
One of them there we go. One of them that I wanted to make it to and I haven't yet. There's a yoga, like a sunrise yoga you can do on top of the cliff up there.
How did I not know about this?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just started this program a couple of years ago, but we've been doing it. Usually, we try to do it around the solstice, kind of that last part of June.
Perfect.
But we had about 15 folks come out for it this year. They got to go up to the top. They did their about an hour of yoga with one of the local instructors here in town, and they just had a blast. Everyone came down, big smiles on their face, looked nice and relaxed, and it was a beautiful morning for it. I think it was maybe 60s, sunny, just
perfect.
still, which is quite odd out there since we get our fair share of wind.
Especially up top there,
Yeah.
I imagine. Yeah. So that's the yoga one I want to
Do
do.
you make
that.
the yogis walk all the way up to the top, or do they start at the top?
They start up at the top. They drive. They could
They
do
could.
the walk, but
If you want to get 3 miles
Earn
in
your
before,
yoga.
Yes, earn your yoga. No, that's on my list of ones that I just haven't been able to make it yet, but I want to do that just to see the sunrise from up there. It's just such a gorgeous. I mean, it's worth, if nothing else, it's worth just going up there just to see the views. Like you said, 5 mountain ranges.
Yep.
Is that right?
You can see the
From top?
Rockies, the Highwoods, the Big Belts, the Little Belts, and the Adeles.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah,
you've
I
got-
didn't realize it was 5. Yes.
Yeah.
All sorts you can see.
So the one event that I have been out to, which is coming up, is the Buffalo Kite Festival.
Yes.
Yep. We are excited for that.
And I'm just going to say, I went out
Smile on her
and
face.
I got to make my own kite and then fly it, and it flew.
Wow.
Yeah, I still
I'm
have
impressed.
it, and I fly it in my yard. So I just want to say, it is not just for kids.
Yeah.
You're going to want to take your family out there, but you as an adult and a parent, a grandparent, make your own kite too.
Yeah.
It
Did
is
you
so much
decorate
fun.
it?
Yeah.
What did you decorate it as?
I did a lot of stripes and circles. I did a bunch of different patterns. I will give you a tip because I was with someone.
Pro tip.
I was with someone who did bands of color.
Uh-huh.
don't put a lot of ink on your kite.
Oh.
So
Does it weigh it down?
It doesn't fly as good.
Okay.
This was just bands of solid color. The
Which
other
seems like
team
that
I
would be
was with,
pretty because
it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous when it's flying, but it doesn't
when
fly.
it's flying is the key.
It doesn't fly well. Mine flew really good.
Wow.
Not that it's a competition, but it was so much fun. Absolutely so much fun. And I was nice. The child I was with that made their very heavy
That you were competing
kite,
with? Oh, this was the child that did the bands of color?
Yeah.
Okay.
the child and my spouse. I ultimately had to give up my kite for them to fly because theirs wasn't flying very good. And mine does. So,
That's
you know,
very
you
nice of
really
you.
want
You
to
had to put
have
aside
a good
your
experience.
competitive
Yeah. I
your
did. I was a
competitive
kind
spirit.
person.
Wow.
But the staff there was absolutely amazing. They didn't make you, like, it's a really simple thing to put together when you have some assistance and instruction of how to do it. But that was the funnest part for me. They did have the big professional kite flyers, I'll call them, and the big kites available. And they were up for a little bit, but making your own kite is really cool.
And so, yeah, it's not just for kids. What is, so we've talked about how you can make kites, but what else is involved with the Kite Festival?
So, yeah, of course, kids and families and adults can all come out, make their own kites. We'll have kite kits available for folks to purchase, and you can do that. And that's always fun watching all the kids get out there, and
Or
even
Rebecca.
the adults.
Yes.
You know, get out there, get those kites flying, because you don't necessarily need a real strong breeze for those kites. But when we can get the bigger kites out, we work with Skywind World, which is a nonprofit that does a lot of work with Native artists and creating these really large kites. So if we get a nice, strong, steady breeze, we can get those big kites up there. And by big, I mean they're like, 4 feet by 6 feet.
Wow.
Huge images
And
on
they're
them.
works of art. I went to it last year. I didn't make my own, sadly, but I did get to
You
see.
missed-
I missed out.
you missed out.
But I did get to see. They're literally works of art on these kites.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad I'm not attempting to fly them because I would totally demolish these beautiful artworks.
Or take someone out. I can foresee that happening. So
Yep.
I don't know if the kite flyers are listening, but I will tell them, if you have the interest in handing that kite off to someone, don't. You don't know if they're going to crash it into the ground, fly it into someone. Just
I think she
you
does
control.
give you the opportunity to fly them.
Ooh,
Brave soul. Yes.
be right there to
Just don't
grab
stand
that.
by. Don't stand close. Yeah. And so that's coming up. So our podcast will come out on Friday morning. So if people want to make the drive to Great Falls on Saturday, it's this Saturday.
It's Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday. Okay.
We've kind of tweaked it up a bit this year. We're going to have more activities available. We're going to be making cattail dolls. We're going to have a station for that, so folks can...
What is this?
It's kind of what it sounds like. You're going to be crafting out of cattail reeds.
Okay.
Making yourself
cool.
little dolls, just like the kids would have played with back in the day.
Yeah.
We're going to have some traditional native games stations where the folks can be making their own pieces for those traditional games. We're going to be doing like run and scream sticks, which was a really popular game. Kids really love that one because it involves two of their favorite things.
Running and screaming.
Running and screaming.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're going to have
the
those.
energy out.
Exactly. And then we're also going to have a bunch of different vendors out there at the park. We're kind of trying to get it to be more of a craft fair. So we're going to have
nice.
some local vendors, some native vendors out there. We're going to be selling works
that
of
sounds
art, different
awesome.
crafts.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to, Nana's Tacos, Vintage Nana's Taco Truck is going to be out there
Ooh.
too. So
Yum.
we're excited to have all our different vendors, and we're looking forward to a bigger event than before.
Yeah.
So as you're listening, Friday morning, folks, stop what you're doing, change your plans, get in your vehicle, drive to Great Falls for Saturday and Sunday, because the kite alone, making your own kite was well enough for the weekend, but all this other stuff,
Yeah, it sounds super
puts
fun.
it over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, come out for the day. It's going to be 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day. So come out. There'll be food out at the park for purchase. So grab a bite while you're there.
And is it free entrance to get there, and then you just purchase like a kite kit or food or things like that, or is
So
there an
if you're in
entrance
a
fee?
Montana vehicle, your entrance is covered. When folks register their vehicles here in the state, that's where state park fees come from. So Montana vehicles, there's no fee. If you do come in an out-of-state vehicle, there is an $8 charge, but it's just per car. and that also gets you into any other state park like Giant Springs.
Gotcha.
I was just going to ask that. Is there like a pass? Is it good for 7 days? How does that work when you're from out of town and you come to a state park?
Yeah, so it's all just if Montana vehicle, you're good to go, no worries there. But if you've got an out-of-state vehicle, it's $8 per day, and that's good at any state park you go to. So if you're going to be in Great Falls, hit up Giant Springs, hit up the Buffalo Jump, Tower Rock's just a little ways down the road. For $8, you can get you and anyone you can squeeze into that car
Per day.
Per car.
That's per day. There's also a week-long pass that's available. Those are $35, and then there's an annual pass for $50. Those are good at any of the state parks.
There you go. Okay, good to know. Other events coming up this summer?
Yeah, so all summer long we run our Junior Ranger program. That's 10 weeks. It's on Thursdays. We've got a bunch of different topics. We just most recently had a bison biologist out who just talked to the kids about kind of the bison and how they were their kind of historic features here in the state.
Yeah.
We've got one on soil microbes coming up, as well as nature journaling. We've done ones on bears before. We've got a couple on different native crafts. We're going to be doing I'm trying to think. We did a prairie fire ecology one, which was really fun.
Oh, interesting.
So we
Lots
do
of science.
lots of different ones out there. We try to change the topics up year after year because we get a lot of the same kids coming out. But we get probably average about 40 kids a day coming out to the park.
Holy
we do
moly.
2 sessions. Those are Thursdays. If anyone's interested, call the park. We'll get you hooked up with our information on those. And then at the end of that, if the Junior Rangers attend a certain number, they get their Junior Ranger badge, a certificate.
Oh, nice.
And then for the ones who come to quite a few of those, we do a camp out for them, which is really special because, of course, we're a day use only park, so you don't really get to camp out there. But we do a special exception for the Junior Rangers, and we do a camp out.
What's the age cap for this program? I'm interested.
Well, we're always looking for volunteers.
Oh, okay. Okay. That could be my workaround. Do I get a badge if I volunteer?
We can hook you up with a badge.
Oh, see? There you go.
what I want. That's
I've
the
got more
motivation.
badges in my drawer. We'll get your shirt all
We'll get
badged
badges.
up.
Yeah.
And then our other big event of the year, we've got our Mammoth Hunt. So if you've ever wanted to throw kind of primitive weapons, we do the atlatl, which is kind of one of the oldest weapons. It's basically a spear thrower. And so if you've ever wanted to see how they hunted before the bow and arrow,
Wow.
it's a difficult one, but we've got some experts who are out there who help folks kind of learn how to do that. And Jim's his name, and he's fantastic at it. I've been out there for a number of years, and I would still starve. If it was me out there with that atlatl, I'm not good with it at all. But we've also got stations with bows and arrows. We'll also do some hatchet throwing, tomahawks, and so folks can come out and try some
sounds
primitive
fun.
weapons, and that'll be in August.
Okay. That sounds fun. And what's the word? Not humiliating, but humbling. Humbling.
There you
That's,
go.
Yeah.
It will likely be humiliating as
Also
well.
humiliating, but fun. Yeah. And when is that?
That is the second weekend in August. So
Okay.
I think it's the 8th and 9th.
Okay.
Perfect.
I believe.
Yeah.
So does the First Peoples Buffalo Jump still host a powwow annually or not?
This year, they are going to be doing the powwow at the Centene Stadium.
Oh.
That's the little shell powwow
little
that's
shell,
traditionally
yeah.
been out there. But hopefully next year we're going to be back out at the Buffalo Jump. So after COVID, I know they had a couple years and they're kind of getting that going again, and we're excited to hopefully be able to host that again in the future.
Now, did I hear you mention as part of the Junior Ranger, one of the classes was about bears? Is that
Yeah,
right?
we've done kind of Be Bear Aware, where we
Okay.
taught the kids all sorts of bear biology, kind of the different signs and things about bears, because, of course, being out on the prairie and being around Great Falls, the bears are starting to move out onto the prairie.
Right.
So,
Well, and originally they were more prairie
Yeah.
animals, is my understanding, and
Yep.
we're seeing them more in the prairies around Great Falls. Have you seen them out at the Buffalo Jump in recent years?
we've not seen any at the Buffalo Jump.
Okay.
So we're still.
Bear
If you're looking,
Yeah.
we've got rattlesnakes,
Yes.
but no bears as of
Okay,
yet.
so one thing at a time. We'll deal with the snakes. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Not yet. Like you're planning to bring them
Yeah.
in.
Not yet.
Eventually.
We'll work them in.
I'm sure they're going to
Yeah.
make their way this way eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anything
So
else?
we've got the Junior Ranger program, the hatchet throwing Mammoth Hunt, the Buffalo Kite Festival this weekend. What other events?
Kind of our other big event that we do is during Western Art Week. We do an art show out at the Buffalo Jump where we host native artists and they show off their crafts. We had this last year was, I think, our busiest one. We probably had over 100 folks out there. We just do kind of a quick show. We do a one afternoon. That morning we do a rock art hike to kind of tie in the different kinds of art. So you can go from thousands of years ago to modern day pieces.
That is really neat. I just totally forgot what I was going to ask you. Oh, you said earlier that the difference between buffalo and bison is one of the more common questions you get. What other kind of questions do people ask you?
One of the other common ones is, what is a buffalo jump?
Okay. Yep. We covered that.
We covered that. And then probably third would be, where is the bathroom?
The same here.
Yes, the same things. Yes, we do get multiple of the same questions. Yes. Not usually the difference between a buffalo and a bison, but what is a buffalo jump and where's the bathroom?
Yeah, we get that.
So you have bathrooms.
We do.
Okay.
They're right, like before you even get inside the main set of doors to the exhibits. They're just right there.
They're available
in the foyer.
Okay.
So we had the really unique opportunity to film our meeting planner video at the Buffalo Jump, and it was really important for us to start our meeting planner video with the concept of a place that people traditionally have met to do a lot of things. And the video we captured was so stunning. I'm so glad I wasn't having to be there that morning.
It was very early in the morning, wasn't it? Yeah.
However, I'm sad because once I saw what was captured on the video, I'm like, man, that'd have been cool to see. And we had our really good friends help us out with that and had native dancers and drummers and a teepee set up. Is a teepee always set up?
During the summer, we usually try to have two set up. So we've got one that would be about the same size that people were living in when it was the dog days, or those days before the horse, when the jump was kind of at its heyday. And that's the littlest one you see out there. And then we have kind of a more modern size one, which, and people can go in either of them, but we've got the really big one, which is about probably 10, 12 feet in diameter, and our little one's about 6 to 8 feet in diameter.
How many people would live in a teepee back in the day? Just a family, or just the parents?
Kind of be a family. So probably maybe 4 or 5 folks would be in one, which when you see that small one, those
impressive.
Are tight quarters.
Especially when you have little kids.
There.
And
it's not like they're watching TV or playing their video games in it. They're just sleeping.
This is true. It's more of a hotel, how we now use a hotel room, just as a kind of a home base, right, for sleeping. Yeah. Are there misconceptions that people have when they come out there, or stereotypes that you hear, or just what are things, kind of the
things
weird off the wall things? Yeah.
Kind of the biggest thing is that a lot of folks just assume this is only, like 100 or 200 years ago.
Okay.
And so they picture the tribes using horses to kind of herd the animals like you do with like a cattle drive or something, and herd them over the edge. But once they had horses, they were able to just ride those horses out into the buffalo herds, take the exact number of buffalo that they wanted, have the horse to be able to pack everything back to camp. Whereas before that, it's real hard to sneak up on a herd of buffalo by yourself.
Yes.
You can imagine trying to drag 1,000 pounds of meat back with you by yourself, which that's not going to be very efficient.
I can't even wrap my head around that. No.
And so that's why they would do these buffalo jumps, is that, instead of going out on the hunt and coming back to camp, you're going to bring the camp to where the hunt's going to take place, drive over the edge of those animals that you're going to need, that whole herd. And so they were able to, use as much of that as they could. But if there was any animals, they didn't get to, because you drive 150 buffalo over the edge, it's not necessarily going to get to all those animals before any sort of waste happens. It wasn't seen as a waste. You've got the scavengers, like you've got grizzly bears out on the prairie, you've got wolves, you've got coyotes. The stories, kind of the oral histories, talk about how those animals weren't, you'd think a big pile of meat right there, they'd be just going at it right away. Those stories say that the animals knew there was going to be some leftovers for them, so they kind of hung back, waited till the people were done, then they'd come in and have their feast.
That even feeds more into the idea that was a place of peace, not only among the tribes, but even with animals in the area. There was just kind of this understanding, it sounds like, of what was happening.
Everyone's going to get what they need.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I'm curious, because I didn't realize, or I had forgotten, that this was prior to the horse that these were being used. And just in my thought process, when I think about that happening, I picture them on horses. So let's back up. How did they get them on foot to the buffalo jump?
Yeah.
How did they get them to that spot?
They actually would trick them. They would lure the buffalo. So there was a young man known as the Buffalo Runner. He'd be anywhere probably about 12 to 16 years old.
Okay.
He was going to be selected by the...
This is quite the initiation into manhood, isn't it? My goodness.
Basically, if he was successful, you go from a boy to a man at the end of that hunt.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. So he'd be selected usually by the elders. They're going to show him up along the cliff where to bring those buffalo. Because, of course, you want to make sure everyone knows
the right spot.
Because with 3 miles being so large,
this is how we're
everybody
gonna do.
needs to be on the same page.
Yes.
And
There's no practice run.
Nope. Yeah, you don't make it out.
And so he was going to be looking at that spot, identifying a ledge maybe 4 or 5 feet down where he could actually jump off, land on a little ledge, and then tuck up against the back of the cliff.
Oh, my gosh.
Because the next time he's up there, there's going to be a stampeding herd of buffalo with him.
Wow. So this buffalo runner is
the
what
buffalo
you call him?
runner.
He would actually jump off of the cliff ahead of the stampede
Yep.
onto that one spot.
Yep. And so the way he would get the buffalo to follow him up there is he was dressed as a buffalo calf.
Okay.
And he's going to head out looking around the prairie, trying to find these buffalo herds, which out at our buffalo jump, you've got just tons of area where you could have seen the buffalo. You've got the Missouri River Valley, the Smith River Valley, the Sun River Valley, just huge grasslands all throughout the area. And so that buffalo runner going to find that herd, going to be heading out towards them, bring a couple other guys with him. They're going to dress in wolf hides, and they are going to be all looking for that herd.
There it is. The
so
wolf.
he's got a couple guys to help him out.
Okay.
But first thing he needs to do as the buffalo runner is identify the leader of the buffalo herd. And during the late fall, early winter, when most of these hunts took place at our jump, you've got these herds that are mostly cow-calf pairs and a few young bulls who hadn't quite left home yet. The big adult bulls, they're off on their own. It's after the mating season. They don't really need anything else to do.
Yeah.
They're just like, we're done.
Yeah.
So
that was fun. See you next year.
Yeah.
And so you've got those, the cow-calf pairs mostly. The herds are led by the oldest female in the group generally. And it's her job to kind of keep that herd under control, keep them safe. She's the one leading them across as they're grazing away.
It's quite the job.
And it's a challenging job. You can imagine I can't even imagine doing anything like that.
Well, and more importantly, you just got tricked to lead the entire herd off of a cliff.
Right. That's what I was thinking too. Is like, ooh, whoops. Man.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, spoiler alert, but
yeah.
She's not going to have to really suffer any consequences for her mistake.
This is true. That was her last act.
Yep.
So that buffalo runner is the calf. He gets out about 30 to 50 feet in front of her. He's on all fours, and he starts mimicking the calls calves are making to their moms. And that's the moment those guys in the wolf hides, they start crawling around just enough to kind of agitate that buffalo herd. And so you've got cows and calves, bison cows and calves, looking around, seeing that, looks like there's some wolves. Hey, let's get the calves to be in the middle of the herd. And you've got the healthier adults on the outside.
Okay.
So the calves are making kind of a distress call, calling for their moms. They're trying to get out and get back into the herd. Of course, the buffalo runner doesn't have a mom in the herd, but he's mimicking that call, those distress calls. That lead cow wanted to keep everybody safe. She starts walking out towards him to nudge him in, and that buffalo runner tries to pretend that he's just scared, doesn't really know what to do, and he moves away from her, further away.
This is a tragic story from the buffalo's perspective.
Yeah.
I feel super bad for the lead buffalo now. Who would have known?
She's just doing her job.
Yeah.
She wants to get that buffalo runner safe, and he's just going to keep moving further away, calling. The rest of the animals in the herd see, our leader's on the move. We better,
we all
keep
gotta
going.
go.
So let's go. There's wolves. So we better make sure that we're going. And eventually that buffalo runner, he's, got to stay in costume. He's on all fours, crawling across the prairie. I don't like crawling around on the prairie at all. There's cactus and snakes and all sorts of things.
Gosh.
It was a big job. You may be going for a couple hours, maybe,
I was going to ask how long this process takes.
It's as fast as he can get that herd moving. So
if he's good, quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
And so that buffalo runner would be leading the animals. If he's really lucky, maybe they were kind of off to the west, so you don't have really an uphill stretch to get them.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because our cliffs, that's kind of where we open up as the horseshoe. And so that buffalo runner would be working on leading them up. You got the guys in the wolf hides kind of just milling about the back of the herd. And so you've got 50 to 150 buffalo just moving across the prairie, kind of slow, steady. Because buffalo, when they're at a full stampede, are going to go about 35 miles an hour. So the buffalo runner doesn't want to trigger that stampede too early.
Soon.
Because you can imagine humans aren't that fast.
No. Nope. Not for that long, at least.
No.
Yeah.
And so while that's going on out on the prairie, you have other folks on the top of the buffalo jump building what are known as the drive lines. And the drive lines were kind of rock cairns that were kind of dotted in kind of a V pattern. If you were to look down from the sky, you'd see just kind of two lines with stones closer together towards the edge of the cliff, almost coming together, but not quite. As you get further and further away, those stone piles are placed further and further apart. You've got folks on top who are building those, maintaining ones from previous hunts, and then also working to put in things like they're going to put any sticks they can find in there. They're going to be putting bones. They're going to be doing whatever they can. So when the buffalo herd is up there, there's going to be people up behind those stone piles too, and they want to make it look as solid as possible when that buffalo herd is starting to stampede.
So they go in a specific direction.
Yeah. And so they're all going to be going to that same spot. Those drive lines come together basically where the buffalo runner's got the spot picked out ahead of time. And that buffalo runner, he's going to be leading slow and steady. There's evidence of the drive lines at our buffalo jump going out at least a mile away from the edge of the cliff.
Wow.
Holy.
So you've got there was quite a bit of kind of landscape architecture going on out there. But these drive lines, as the buffalo runner would be entering with the buffalo herd behind him, the folks on top are going to, of course, see the buffalo and bison coming through. They're going to take positions hiding behind those rock piles. They're going to also make sure that their best hunters and marksmen, they're going to be down below the cliff because they have an important job too. They're going to have to finish off any animals that don't die in that fall. And so you've got kind of three different groups all coming together.
The spear throwing and the axe chucking.
And bows and arrows and things. And so you've got all these groups. They're all coming together. That buffalo runner would be slow, steady, working through the drive lines. As soon as he thinks he can outrun that buffalo herd, he's going to jump up and take off as fast as he can towards the edge of that cliff, going for that spot he picked out ahead of time.
Does he ditch the calf costume when he gets up?
Nothing specifically says that, but if I was the buffalo runner, I would totally ditch that costume because I would trip and fall. And
Process has started. You got to just go.
I would never be selected as buffalo runner. Just let's be honest.
I'm also curious the training. If they, you think about you prepare for a marathon now, you go through a lot of training. What training this young man would go through to crawl for
and
that
that's
long.
what a lot of the traditional games were designed to do, is to train.
Yep.
Train for
You'd
that.
be working on, and then not only just the traditional games like run and scream or double ball or any of the kickball, like where there's a lot of kind of endurance being built, which you're going to need speed. But you'd also be working on things just kind of observing buffalo herds, seeing what their behavior is. Tribes, of course, interacted with buffalo for thousands and thousands of years. They had an immense amount of knowledge about kind of how the herds interacted amongst themselves. And the tribes are able to kind of exploit that knowledge using this, hey, we know we need to get the lead cow. If we get her, we're going to get the rest of this herd on the move.
Just a lot of patience and intuition and watching and learning these animals. Wow.
Yeah. And then, of course, as that buffalo runner's running down, most buffalo jumps have a hill kind of right before you hit the cliff. And so that obscures the view of that cliff until you're pretty much right on it. And so as those buffalo get driven closer and closer to the edge, you've got people up on top behind the drive lines. They're jumping out, yelling, shouting. As soon as that buffalo runner's taken off, that herd's in a panic. That lead cow's trying to figure out which way to go. Of course, from her perspective, there's a wall of people on the right, a wall of people on the left. She's got, 150 buffalo right behind her who think there's wolves behind her. So that's not an option to just turn around.
Yeah.
Oh, but there's, that one guy who tricked her, running down a hill, headed back out onto the prairie.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to get him.
She's going to, exactly. She just charges right after that buffalo runner, probably raises her tail. And when a buffalo raises its tail, it's nothing good's going to be good.
Okay.
Go
so
time.
That buffalo runner is charging away. That lead cow is following the buffalo runner. And then all of a sudden, the rest of that herd sees the leaders on the move. And they start to stampede. The drive lines squeeze them in tighter and tighter and tighter. Of course, it's out on the prairie, so there's lots of dust getting kicked up. Fewer and fewer animals can actually see what's coming up ahead. That the buffalo runner, all of a sudden, is going to just disappear. And ideally, he's going to land on that ledge he picked out ahead of time. That lead cow, all of a sudden, realizes there's a cliff coming up. She's probably going to try to stop.
Not going to work because
But it
there's
doesn't
a
work.
bunch
The
of
bison
ones
pushing
behind
You've got
her.
all the ones behind her that are going to push and shove.
They
And
can't
that's
see, and
if
it's too
she's
late.
lucky enough to stop herself. Because you're 1,200 pounds, going
it doesn't-
35 miles an hour, and all of a sudden a cliff.
Doesn't stop on a dime.
Not gonna turn out well.
Freight train ain't stopping easily.
No. Yeah.
And so the tribes
Wow.
would make sure to basically drive that entire herd over the edge of the cliff because they knew that, any of the animals that escaped probably going to go join other buffalo herds, and they were worried that they'd communicate and then buffalo wouldn't come back into this area. And so this method worked for thousands of years across the prairie. It's pretty much exclusively on the east side of the Rockies. There's just a couple buffalo jumps on the west side, but it's one of the most common methods used. There's about 300 buffalo jumps alone in Montana.
Wow. 300 in Montana? Wow. That's impressive. I didn't realize there were that many.
The largest head smashed in. The largest.
Not just in Montana, North America.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's you painted quite the picture of understanding the process there. Excuse me. And in this day and age, we think, it sounds like a very tragic, gruesome story, but that was very inventive and effective in that time for those tribes' survival.
Exactly. This would be probably the single biggest collection of food in a single hunt process.
Tribe isn't like a family. It's
multiple families kind of working together. You've got families making up different clans, making up different bands, kind of working their way up to the tribe level.
There's more than 20 people that you're trying to fend for. So
especially when it's multiple tribes coming together to utilize this space.
Yep.
Gotcha. Wow. Well, I learned a lot today.
So did I.
Yeah. You learned pictographs. And the other one.
Petroglyphs.
There we go.
There's going to be a test later.
Oh boy, yes there is. Yes. Clark, anything else we should know about Buffalo Jump? What's going on out there the rest of this year?
We're open daily throughout the summer, so folks can come out and see us. We open the gates at 8 and close the gates at 6. But if you want to come out and hike in, the park is open for hiking, sunrise to sunset. So you want to come see what those teepees look like when the sun's rising, just park outside the gates, either on top or out by the front. And you can walk on in. And if you're wanting to, hike out in the park after we close the gates, just park right outside and walk on in. It's beautiful in the evenings and great spot.
What are your winter hours? I know it's summer now, but you're open in the winter as well.
We are open year round. So in the winter, we'll switch to our winter hours, as we call them, even though we do it in usually mid-September. But it's Wednesday through Saturday, 10 to 4, and then Sundays are noon to 4.
Okay. Gotcha. There you go. You heard it here, folks.
Yes. All right. Well, I think we learned a lot. The rest of them, we'll send them your way to see it in person.
Awesome. So we have on we'renodamexperts.com, there are 3 other episodes that we have done. They were one conversation, but we broke them into 3 episodes with James Parker Shield. So you can contrast and compare Clark's story with James's story. And they are the same. Spoiler alert.
Ooh.
But those 3 episodes were earlier. I don't know what number. It doesn't matter. Go through them all. So you've got that as an opportunity to learn more about the Buffalo Jump. And if you're not already planning a trip to Great Falls just to do the Buffalo Jump, obviously this is the time to do it. Come once in the summer, once in the winter. It'll be a fantastic experience. And if you want to know more, get in touch with the Buffalo Jump or just show up in Great Falls and head out there. That's all you really need to do. So we really appreciate the fact that you've been here, shared your knowledge.
Yep, happy to.
Been the expert on our podcast. Yes.
This has been a blast. I love this.
So thank you again. We will bring you back when you've got more to talk about, more stories to share. We can't wait. I'm going to actually try and get into the visitor center portion of that building and see the display.
Move past the classroom and the bathroom. Yeah.
Usually there's just people there like, no, you're going this way. Okay. So I'll get that done and we'll be able to share some more information, and then maybe we'll send Shannon out for one of those winter hikes so she can see rock art. I think that'd be cool. So thank you so much, and thanks for volunteering to do the winter hike.
Absolutely. I will. She volunteers me for things in the midst of podcasts. This one I am very happily glad to do. Yes.
Oh, perfect. So Looking forward to it.
We'll plan that, Clark. Yes.
All right.
So until we see your bright, happy, smiling face here in Great Falls, we hope you are having a wonderful time creating memories with your friends and family wherever you are. We'll see you soon.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town. Damn, that felt good.